Good evening, everyone. How are you? Today's topic, I read an article this morning about maximalism. I thought, what in the world is maximalism? I've never heard of that. Well, apparently, there's a, I'm sure many of you heard, most of you know about minimalism, where you try to live with the least amount of stuff. So everybody's getting rid of their clutter, and you just kind of live very simply, and you have very few things. It's called minimalism. And it's also about downsizing what you enjoy. Why not? We only live once. Might as well, you know, if you have a collection of little, what would I say? Some people have a collection of bears. I know some people who like bears. So they have a whole bunch of little bears. And everywhere they go, if they see a bear, they buy it. So they have a whole section of bears. In America, you have people who have, name it, Lego collections, you know, Pez collections, the candy Pez, any kind of collection. So that's embracing who you are. And I'm for that. I am not a minimalist, but I think I am not a maximalist. I'm more toward the minimalist side, but I don't believe in having just a few things because I think you need to enjoy things. In fact, I think my mom is the opposite of minimalist. She has too much stuff. And I think when you live growing up like that, it backfires. So I don't want a lot of stuff. And so I'm one of 7 children. So when my mom used to go shopping, she used to buy everything by the dozen. And it became a habit because you got so many kids, you might as well buy 12. And it's not like we're all one gender either. But when she used to go and buy our underwear, she would go to the wholesalers and she would buy stacks and stacks and stacks. And so that's how I grew up. We just always had a lot of stuff. And so I'm the opposite. I don't like a lot of stuff. I try my best, but we still have a lot of stuff. I try to cut back on what we have. However, that being said, I think it's really important to embrace what you like. I don't think, and the reason I say that is because I think about artists. My sister's an artist. She runs an art school in New York called Imagination Station. And she's a very gifted teacher in that sense. And if anybody wants to learn art, let me know. Since she's doing remote classes, so if you have children, she teaches children. And so from I think about 5 years old on up to like high school. Yeah. And so if you're an artist, you need the tools, you need the supplies, you need the paint, you need the materials, you need things to help you create an art piece. So you can't be a minimalist because you need that kind of supplies. And also, I think not only when you travel, but when you see things, when you see material, it inspires you. So if it's too empty, you get no inspiration unless you go outside and get stimulated. And I think that's good. I think to go outside and walk helps stimulate your mind. And for some people, I think it just really depends on the person. Some people, they don't like anything. And other people, they need that stimulation. So you have to first define who you are. So I don't think one way is correct over another. I think you first define who you are and what makes you tick. And because I'm in the design business, I know for a fact that everybody is different. Everybody's taste, everybody's sense of color, and what they like, it's very, very individual. Very individual. And there's no right or wrong. Absolutely. There's no right or wrong. And I think between the minimalists and the maximalists, there is no right or wrong. And so I think that's good. In Chinese philosophy, like in the I Ching, they talk about the lake and they talk a lot about water. Water is a very common topic. They always talk about water having to flow and to move because as long as the water is moving, it's clean and fresh. But once the water stops moving and there's no movement, it becomes stagnant and a lot of times it becomes smelly, in nature. So it's very important for water to flow. The other characteristics, for example, of a lake, again, water is involved, is that you want the lake to be high enough, but when there's too much water, what happens? You get a flood. So they always say extreme is no good. So being an extreme minimalist or an extreme maximalist is no good. Then when you have too little, then the lake you have drought. Again, not good. So the best is to keep it in balance. And so if you're too minimalist, you have nothing. And sometimes, what do you do if you have nothing? You have only enough for yourself. That means you're not willing to allow people into your life. To have a good life, you need to be with people, get involved with people. And that's what living is about, communication with others. And it could be like now, it's virtual. It's going to change, and how we live and communicate with each other is different than, hey, Celine, thanks for watching. So communication is really important in any kind of relationship. So when you're a minimalist and you have nothing in your room, there's a very famous Japanese man who wrote the book on minimalism, and he says his problem was he got rid of everything, and he's very happy about that because he used to buy too much from Amazon. And then his room got full, and he thought, why am I buying all this stuff and I never use it? He bought a guitar, and it showed, he had a lot of stuff in his room. So in the end, he decided, no, I'm going to get rid of everything. And he got rid of so much to a point where he didn't have anything. He had a desk and a chair, but he said he wanted a girlfriend. So he says, maybe I have to get a sofa, because if I invite her to my house, where is she going to sit? But that's true. If you don't have any chairs for people to sit, that means you're not really thinking about inviting people into your life. And in Feng Shui, we say that. How you lay out your home reflects what you're really thinking. So if you want a relationship and if you're single, think about your room. Are you allowing your environment to accept other people? So being a complete minimalist may not be good Feng Shui. I don't know. That's what I think. You can have your own opinion. So the other thing is being a maximalist. You have so much stuff. But then in Feng Shui, being a maximalist when it becomes clutter is not good. Why? Because we say a cluttered space means a cluttered mind. So we always like to be in balance. And why is it good, we say, to be in balance in Chinese philosophy? Because when you're in balance, that means you have the most energy. And it's all about the energy, right? Too yin, that means too minimalist, too empty. It can mean you don't have enough energy because there's nothing to stimulate you. And then when there's too much energy, because you got too much stuff, and that's clutter, we say that's too yang. And when it's too yang, that means it causes confusion. So when I do a Feng Shui consultation, most of the time there's clutter. I don't think I've ever been to a place that was minimalist. And when you have a lot of clutter in a room, sometimes it's a reflection of your mind, and it means chaos. And chaos doesn't mean that, you're funny. It just means that you're confused. You've got too much going on. And so my suggestion, if you have too much clutter, is obviously one thing is to get rid of clutter, but also maybe it's your activities. You are doing too much. So, as they say, a journey of 1,000, what is it? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So, you're not going to get there, all of a sudden. It just one step at a time. One step at a time. So, that means if you have a room full of clutter, just work on it a little bit every day. And that's how we have to treat ourselves. When we have too much going on, what happens is we get too tired, too exhausted. And then the next day we're like, can't do anything. So it's kind of the extreme. But what we're trying to do is to go up. Well, we always want to go up, but life isn't like this, right? Life is like this, and then it goes down a little bit, goes up. That's what we're aiming for. We dip. We always dip a little bit. That's just natural. But we don't want to be like a sharp up and then sharp down. We rather do little humps and then slowly go up. Slowly, slowly, slowly. That's what we're trying to do. But as they say, when yang is extreme, the yin is extreme. So even Dr. Zeus is in business. If a business goes up really fast, they say it'll drop really fast. So what you're trying to do is actually go in steps. And when you're consistent and you go in steps, your curve is much more round and it's not as sharp. It's very slow. It's like a very slow incline, but it's much better. If you go up really fast, they say the decline can be really fast. So that's how they see the energy. So what we try to do is we just raise the energy little by little. And so in that way, it's consistent and it's easy to monitor. So now we're under COVID. Everybody's stressed out. A lot of changes in everybody's lives. I live in Washington State. Hey, Mary. I live in Washington State, and they was it from today? Yeah, from today, you can't eat in a restaurant again. Now they close that up, and you can do takeout. But the stores are open only 25%. They can allow, let's say the capacity is 100 people. Well, you only can have 25 in the shop. You can't have more than that. So it's very stressful for everybody. So how do we deal with that? Well, we just take it slowly. We take it slowly and we try to release our stress slowly. So this kind of emotion is no good. So basically, we're just trying to keep it low. Just trying to keep it low. So I was talking about minimalism. So minimalism, I've read people who have like so many shirts. Like this one guy had like 100 items, and that's all he owned. So it was like his clothes, his toothbrush, his coffee cup. He had only enough for him, for one person. And they showed his bathroom. He had this cup, toothbrush, toothpaste. Really minimalistic. He did. And so what happens is, like I said, it's like he didn't have a sofa. It's like, I don't want to bring another person into my life because this is all I want. So slowly you have to accept that, hey, if you want a relationship, you got to have space for the other person. Otherwise, you won't get a relationship. And that's just kind of like how it manifests. It's very strange. So think about that. Think about that if you want a relationship, And then once you have a relationship, you have whatever, you got to compromise. That's just the way it is. You got to compromise because, it's interesting when I go to do interior design work, you talk to the husband and you talk to the wife, and they're both very different. And many times the husband is conservative and he likes very simple masculine things. And the wife likes all the flashy, frilly, sparkling things. So I had one couple like that. And she liked the chandelier, and she liked silver, and she liked glitter. And he was like, whatever, whatever. And so he was very accommodating. So they had certain parts of their house where she had control, and then he had areas where he had control. So in their dining room, she wanted a little chandelier over her dining table, and it was really cute. And the living room was quite simple. He wanted it simple, no flash, just basic kind of cream colored, nice sofas, but nothing fancy. And then they had a dining room that a formal dining room that they never used. So we changed it into a wine room. And she had to put her little glitter in there. And where did we put the glitter? We put it actually in the carpet. It was this patterned carpet with like silver sparkles in it. It was just really beautiful. And it kind of gave a nice mood. So compromise is important when you have a relationship. The husband was very clever. He gave her certain areas of the house where she could use her creativity and have her little space. And the other space for her was her dressing room, her closet. So my new client too, I'm telling them the same thing. The husband wants the house to look very serene. So I said, let her decorate her closet any way she wants. He said, good idea. So that's what we're going to do. So we can put in a chandelier. We can put in some fluffy chair if she wants, and just kind of make it feminine, you know. We all kind of need to have our little space. So minimalism is not great for if you want a relationship. But maximalism, I think, it happens very quickly when you have children. And the more kids you have, as Mary would know, the more stuff you have. I'm one of 7, and I only had 3 boys, but boy, did they have a lot of stuff. And I think girls have even more stuff. I went to my sister's place, and girls have a lot of, I think I would say, product. You know, you go in the bathroom, oh my goodness, there's so much product. It's like hair product, face product, makeup, just so much product. And then my boys have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. It's like toothbrush, toothpaste, shaving cream. It's like, so it's very different. But that's how we accumulate clutter over time. It doesn't happen all of a sudden. It's just over time. And so as we increase what we have to keep getting rid of it to keep it balanced. So when I was reading this article about maximalism, this person decided to embrace their maximalism, and people are throwing stuff on the street, to get rid of their house, junk. Because I guess you're at home a lot, you notice things, oh, I got too much stuff. And this person is doing the opposite, going along the street and finding stuff they really like and picking it up and taking it home. So they have a wall now with all the stuff they picked up that they liked. Well, that's different. And so they have this wall of picked up art. I don't know. Maybe that's going to be the new trend. But I don't think that's for me. So if anybody has any questions, nobody has any questions. So there's minimalism and maximalism. The other thing I want to talk about, because the other day I saw an article about, God, what was it called? I put it in my Facebook in our group. Horticulture therapy. Did you see that? So they found that people with dementia actually can get a lot of help if they worked in the garden. So like tending the garden, tending the plants, growing vegetables, actually helps with dementia. And I wish I knew that my father had dementia toward the end. We didn't think so, but the doctor said he did. And so we tried other things. We put in with yogurt, because they say coconut oil is really good for dementia. So we put in yogurt and coconut oil. We mixed it up so he would eat it, because it's not so nice to just have coconut oil. And I think that helps. They said it really helps the brain. So if you're finding, maybe that's what I should have. I'm getting very forgetful. That, coconut oil helps with memory, but also, and I didn't know this, tending in the garden. You can just do, stuff in the yard, and it something. I think there must be something about touching soil, and the soil has chemicals and things in the soil. And I think that's absorbed. They say in China it's good to walk barefoot on the grass, on the ground. But like now we have, concrete. But I mean, I'm talking about earth. If you walk on earth, they say that we absorb the natural minerals in the soil. That's supposed to be good for us. But now we wear shoes, we have rubber soles. We don't get that anymore. So maybe we can get it through touching the soil with our hands. It's absorbed in a different way. So if you get the opportunity to work with soil, or if you have family, a lot of our parents get dementia, and it's because we live longer than, in the past. So have them do some potting, just so that they can touch soil. And apparently it's very, very therapeutic. And there's a profession called a horticulture therapist. I didn't even know there was a profession. I mean, you get qualified or something. I don't know. I've read in Europe that they have prisoners that when they go through transition into back to society, in some parts of Europe, they make them do gardening. And I don't know what it is about gardening, but it allows them to adapt to a regular routine, and then it's a way to bring them back into society in a very smooth transition. So, touching soil, working in the environment, in nature, has very strong healing, what would you say, powers. And that we've kind of forgotten about these things. But if you look in the old Chinese books of therapy and philosophy, it talks a lot about that kind of stuff. So they talk about grounding. And I think it's because we have a lot of man-made material, like I said, the clothes and the shoes. We don't absorb nature anymore. A lot of the things we have are plastic, plastic. But like my teacup is ceramic. So, actually these kind of things are good. These kind of things. And you have to be careful because some of the glazes can be toxic. I read once that this couple, they both had dementia, and they found out that the mugs they were using had lead in them, in the paint, and they were drinking from them every day, and that's how they got it. I mean, it's like things you never think about, and it can be as simple as the mug. So we have to kind of be a little bit more aware and try to go back to nature. And we have to take responsibility for ourselves, because nobody's going to look after us anymore. We have to be, we got to that's the kind of world we live in now. We just got to be careful for ourselves. But some of the technology is excellent right now that we can do this live. That's wonderful. I was talking to Dr. Zun. He's in Shanghai right now, and he met some businesswoman who needed some feng shui consultation. And her business, they do high-tech materials. It's very interesting. He said it gives off heat. The fabric gives off heat. They do have some, what do they call it? Breathable. Well, you have breathable, you have, the UV kind, but this one gives off heat. So they're thinking of not only clothing, but, you could wear just like gloves, thinking of flooring, then you don't need that much heat, or in-floor heating, how they have those heated pads underneath the tile. Hey, just put this material in. I don't know what it is. But, just by adding some chemicals in, it just changes the whole function of the material. So some of these high-tech things are going to change the way we live, and the change so our lives become a lot easier. There's always a catch, right? You always got to be careful about the consequences that we don't know. It's kind of like the vaccine. Do you think you'll take it? I don't know if I will. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat about that. I think a lot of times when something is new, we just don't know the long-term effects. So to me, that's a little bit scary to be swallowing it. If it's kind of on the surface of the skin, or it's not so scary. But when you put it inside and you got it, or they're gonna, inside your body, that's a different topic. And I don't know. I feel like when we take it, we're all going to be guinea pigs. So if I don't have to, I really don't want to. But I don't know about how you feel about it. Anybody have any opinion on that? Nobody's saying anything. Okay. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. And, so it's nearly 9 already. Well, thanks for watching. Then we'll do another live tomorrow. So I want to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this video, please check out my Indiegogo campaign right now. I wrote a book called How to Find a Good Feng Shui House, and it's on Indiegogo. And I wrote about the background of Feng Shui Form School and the differences between, cultural things and Feng Shui. So, for example, I don't know, symbolism in Asian culture is, for example, the crane is long life, right? That's not Feng Shui. That's a Chinese cultural thing. But nowadays it's kind of overlapped. You don't know if it's Feng Shui or if it's a cultural thing. The other thing is almost all the other Feng Shui schools, it's all about astrology, so it's really not about the design of the room. But Form School, we're the only ones I think that are 100%. It's about the real environment. It's about real things. It's not about, well, maybe, the moon is here and the sun is here. And, and then when we talk about astrology means time. We don't have that time factor. We talk about the actual space that you are actually living in. So, for example, they say face south. Well, what if you're facing south, but you're facing, there's a mountain right here? You're not going to face south, right? You're not. And that's the kind of simple stuff that they don't acknowledge. And I don't know why they don't acknowledge it, because it's common sense. But, but I'm born on this day, and I'm supposed to say face south, otherwise it's bad luck. But I said, well, you can't. You just can't. So a lot of things about the astrology, I think you got to separate that from your house. If you want to do astrology, that's fine. You can do astrology. But I don't think you can do astrology for a house. I think that gets really, really complicated. And a lot of times it just doesn't make sense. That's just my opinion. So for the other Feng Shui schools, I don't know how they can tell you, if you're born on this day, your desk has to face a certain way. I don't know how that makes sense, because I'm sure 99% of the world, they don't do that. But I don't know. That's just how it is. Well, okay, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night. And